You can see the flag here at the Smyrna Airport flying at half staff tonight in honor of Captain Coos. People here in Middle Tennessee and really all over this country thinking about his family and the rest of the Blue Angels tonight. Eric? Hey guys, yeah, the water has receded here, but some of the damage will take a little bit longer to clean up. Take a look above me here. The roof of this house has been partially blown off. That roof was covered in tin metal, and as you can see, it is missing a lot of tin. Some of that was blown right off the roof, and some of it even went across the street and is still hanging from this power line as we speak. And so I'm told the power is out. Folks here are still waiting on the power crews to come out and get the power back on, but also try and remove this piece of debris. Now, this house behind me over here is a rental, and to add insult to injury, the family that lives here, they were set to begin their first night in this home today. They were in the process of moving in when the storm hit and knocked about half of their roof off of this house. And so I'm told that they will continue to stay here tonight. They were able to plug the roof and get some tarps on top of some of these leaky spots. But I will say it's still very cloudy here, so neighbors here will be watching the sky this evening, hoping that it doesn't rain and hoping that this roof holds up. Reporting live in Lawrenceburg, Nick Caloway, News 2.
All right, thanks for that report, Nick.
And it's important to note that Glenn Campbell may have lost his life, but he didn't lose his battle with Alzheimer's. He fought very bravely and publicly for many years and helped bring the conversation about Alzheimer's to the forefront, and people that have been affected by the disease are grateful for that. Good evening, Bob. Tonight I've actually seen a heavy volume of people both here at the airport and also out on the roadways. And you know, with so many people just trying to make it home for the holidays, there are certainly going to be some delays along the way. Over the river and through the woods, the path to grandmother's house could be paved with delays this Christmas. Nearly 30% of Americans, some 95 million people, will travel 50 miles or more this holiday season. More than 5.5 million of them will fly.
We are expecting high volume today, Saturday and Sunday because of the holidays.
Nasty weather from the Midwest through the South is translating into airline delays, but it's Christmas and seasoned travelers are ahead of the curve.
I was worried it was going to be kind of crammed and packed. Sometimes you see those nightmare stories on the news, so thought we'd get here a little early today.
You know, it's not for us because we have a baby, so naturally having an infant makes it smooth for us, and we actually get to get on the plane first, so having a baby brings some advantages.
You can also expect lots of people on the roads between now and New Year's. More than 85 million people are taking road trips.
For those Southwest passengers traveling with us to Raleigh-Durham, flight number 1847, the aircraft house Carlton Range, we should be boarding in about 15 minutes.
But whether you're driving or flying, getting there is the important part.
There he is right there.
Sheila Eichenberg wasn't thrilled about the minor delay on her son's flight home to Tennessee, but as promised, her soldier made it home for Christmas.
Thank you.
What you are looking at is a long line of cars in the arrival lane. A lot of people flying into Nashville tonight. Unfortunately, though, there are plenty of delays and even some cancellations on flights coming into and also leaving Nashville's airport. Tomorrow's weather could cause even more of those delays and cancellations. If you plan on flying this weekend, it's probably a good idea to check your flight status before you even head to the airport. You can do that at flynashville.com. But Bob, it is certainly going to be a busy weekend for travelers. Reporting live at Nashville International Airport, Nick Caloway, News 2 at 10. Yeah, as you can see behind me, Air Force Two is in Nashville for the first time since Vice President Mike Pence was sworn in. Before he left in his motorcade, he took some time to meet some military personnel and their families. Vice President Mike Pence landing right on time in Nashville. One of the men who greeted Pence as he got off the plane was Bill Haggerty, a Nashville businessman who is now the U.S. ambassador to Japan.
I've had a chance to see what kind of person the Vice President is, and I'm glad that more Tennesseans will have a chance to see how terrific and vibrant a person we've got as our Vice President. He's a great leader.
Around 50 military personnel and their families gathered at the airport to welcome the Vice President, many getting the chance to meet Pence in person.
I think it's great. I think they're going to do a great job for our country. So
people of all ages enjoying the rare opportunity.
Oh, it was incredible. I didn't even remember half of what he was saying because in my head I was like, oh my gosh, I'm shaking the hand of the Vice President. It was amazing.
Vice President Pence even stopping for a quick selfie with a grateful supporter.
Oh man, super nice guy. I think the thing I was most impressed with was just when he said, like, this was the honor of his life to be able to serve our country like this.
The vice president getting a round of applause from the group before getting into his car for the motorcade ride downtown. Nick Caloway, News 2.
What can you tell us happened tonight and what's going on right now?
Yeah, Bob, tonight that woman is suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. Those shots fired by Metro police officers. Police say it all started when 52-year-old Pamela Hutcherson fired a shot at a dog inside her home. That shot missed, but her 30-year-old daughter called police.
News 2's Nick Caloway live for us inside the arena. Nick, what's going on there?
Hey guys, yeah, the announcer just a few minutes ago told the crowd that this is officially a sold-out event, which is staggering. They managed to sell out a watch party in Bridgestone Arena when the game is all the way up in Pittsburgh, and you can tell by the crowd size here tonight. Take a look over here. It is starting to look like a home game here. Of course, Vanderbilt fans are hoping this was an isolated incident. Either way, it has made national headlines, and it is sure to be a hot topic later this week at the SEC Media Days. Live on the campus of Vanderbilt University, Nick Caloway, Nashville's News 2.
News 2's Nick Caloway is live at the spot that caused lots of you problems today during rush hour.
Yeah, some problems with the bridge behind me impacted thousands of you today, and we found out that the same problem happened just about a year ago, so we went to TDOT to get some answers. Earlier today, some chunks of concrete started falling from Interstate 40 West down onto Charlotte Avenue. Crews immediately closed 2 lanes of traffic and started some emergency bridge deck repairs. It starts with the scream of a whistle, followed by the thunder of bass drums. Then comes the brass. The thing about a marching band, it's always on the move. The Hunters Lane High School Band is practicing for a performance like nothing they've ever seen. The group is traveling to Michigan this week to march in the Detroit Thanksgiving Day Parade.
You gotta keep the feet going the whole time.
For band leader William Brooks, it's a homecoming trip. He's from Detroit and actually marched in that same parade as a kid. He wants to make the experience just as special for his students.
And we just want to make it a life-altering experience, you know, something that's positive that they'll always remember.
Bands from across the country compete to perform in Detroit's Thanksgiving Parade in front of hundreds of thousands of spectators. For this group, it offers some unique opportunities.
We went to New Orleans a couple of years ago, and you'd be surprised in how many of my students had never left the state of Tennessee before. So, you know, it's their first time being away from home, it's their first time leaving the state, and it's always an honor and a privilege to be able to assist them along the way and give them opportunities like that.
The students are excited to start Thanksgiving on a high note.
Our energy will be better, like everybody will be a little hyper, we'll be having more fun, and we just get to enjoy it a little more.
Majorette Dasmond Srilankal is excited about everything except the frigid Detroit weather.
Yeah, not the cold though. Yeah, that can stay.
Even better, over the last 5 years, 100% of graduating seniors there have been offered band scholarships to college. The band leader there tells me that is far more rewarding than any trophy or parade. Bob, Haley.
That is fantastic. Thank you, Nick.
Long before the Music City Center opened 4 years ago, and even before Bridgestone Arena opened its doors 20 years ago, the real anchor of downtown Nashville was right over here, the old Nashville Convention Center, and it helped transform Lower Broadway into what it is today. These days, Lower Broadway is known for its thriving tourism scene, rooftop bars, and boot stores. But Broadway wasn't always like this, especially in what some consider the not-so-good old days of the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
It was like an adult entertainment district, just to be candid. I mean, there were tattoo parlors and massage parlors and adult bookstores. I mean, it was a really seedy place.
Rich Riebling is Chief Operating Officer for the Mayor's Office. He also worked for former Nashville Mayor Richard Fulton in the late 70s and early 80s. Fulton had to fight to get the convention center built on Broadway.
He wanted it, to face on Broadway, but he saw that as going to be the future for the revitalization of downtown. And 30 years later, I think he was right.
But 30 years later, the old convention center is past its prime. It'll take months to tear the building down, making way for the new 5th and Broadway. It's a massive mixed-use project that will include apartments, office space, retail and entertainment, and the National Museum for African American Music. At-large council member Erica Gilmore says 5th and Broadway could be the newest anchor of downtown.
The momentum is definitely there. People seeing this last piece knocked off because we had to work with the Renaissance Hotel and just work those pieces out. So now it's finally coming to fruition, so we're very excited about it.
It's a development years in the making, bigger and better looking than the convention center ever was. Still, the older building is a tough act to follow. Nick Caloway, News 2. Instead of reading, writing, and arithmetic, it's jackhammers, sledgehammers, and various forms of heavy machinery. Workers are racing to make John Overton High School ready for the belated school year. Teachers are prepping classrooms. The principal is cautiously optimistic.
Still got our fingers crossed that we're going to have kids here to start school with us on Wednesday.
But the school is preparing for the very real possibility that opening day will have to be pushed back again. No surprise to parents who have been tracking the progress. Doc Smith has a freshman daughter at Overton. He tells us there's no rush to open the school.
The administration, the teachers, they're here setting up room, doing everything they can to get us in. If not, you know, we have a great school to look forward to. You know, the remodel, I'm excited about it.
Renovation of Overton's football and track facilities are also cutting it close. Crews are working to finish up before football season begins. Clearly, there is a lot of work left to do here. The track is just a muddy slab of cement. The bleachers could use some work, and the bathrooms and concession stands are still under construction. Meanwhile, the home opener versus Father Ryan is just 11 days away.
They're many days away from completion.
Chris Koutras is an alumnus of Overton High School. The stadium is named after his father, the late football coach Nick Koutras. The younger says he'd be surprised if the stadium is ready.
We can hope, but I would say the track record right now, no pun intended, has came up short. So it would take a miracle for them to be ready, I believe, by the opening ball game.
Metro Schools officials say they do expect the stadium to be ready. The school, however, could be a different story. One reason for the construction delays, crews had to remove asbestos from the 60-year-old building. Nick Caloway, News 2. The people of Tennessee have been through deadly flooding before. They've seen the devastating impacts the water can have. So it makes sense the people here want to help out the people of Texas.
So it's going to be like brown hoppy ale.
Yazoo Brewing has been serving Tennessee craft beer since 2003. After the devastation from Hurricane Harvey, Yazoo is looking to serve Texas too. So on Thursday at Yazoo's tap room in the Gulch, every dollar that comes through the door will go to charities helping the people of Houston.
So we're not doing a portion of proceeds, so on and so forth. We're doing everything that comes to the door. It's a lot easier to keep track that way.
For fans of Yazoo Brewing, it's an opportunity to grab a local beer and help the cause.
Well, I think it's a brilliant move on Yazoo's part. It's also really kind and thoughtful. It's like such a very tangible way to help.
Yazoo isn't the only local business giving back. Over at Project 615, the apparel company is donating 10% of every purchase this week to Harvey relief.
So Project 615 is all about supporting community, loving your neighbor, and Texas is certainly part of our nationwide community. So we want to show them that we love them and we see them and we're here to help.
Restaurants are also donating money to help victims. That includes Jack Brown's Beer and Burger Joint in Germantown and the Florida Georgia Line House downtown. The list goes on, and for many, the gestures of goodwill are not surprising.
You know, this is a volunteer state. And more from one end of the state of Tennessee to the other, everybody always wants to help out, whether it be the fires in East Tennessee or the flooding that we saw here, the things that go on in other parts of the state. We all just really want to help.
For businesses, it's just good business. And for customers, the fundraising offers a way to buy local and help people in need. Nick Caloway, News 2. Pulaski is known for being the birthplace of the KKK, and most people I spoke with say they are not particularly proud of that fact. In any case, they have dealt with these racially charged rallies before. Take a walk around Pulaski, Tennessee, and you'll find sights familiar to many small towns. A grand courthouse, American flags waving in the breeze, and school spirit proudly on display. But just off the town square is a small nondescript building with a controversial past. In 1865, a group of Confederate veterans gathered here to form the Ku Klux Klan.
It actually haunted us as a town, quite frankly.
Bob Massey's father, Don, owns the building these days. Long before he bought it, this metal plaque was bolted to the front, commemorating the Klan's creation. As locals tell it, the KKK started holding disruptive parades here in the 80s.
The parades got bigger and the crowds got bigger and law enforcement's presence became much greater, and people in town started wanting to do something about it to let the general public know that that's not what Pulaski's about.
So Bob's father had the sign removed and bolted right back up, but facing the brick wall this time.
And he turned it around backwards as a symbol for all of Pulaski to sort of turn their back on racism.
The community used the same strategy to handle the annual Klan rallies. Businesses closed for the day, and everyone ignored the KKK.
Turning our back on it was the most effective way to deal with it. Because of that, although they do still come back once a year, there's barely anybody comes. Our businesses are still open, and we just basically ignore what they're doing.
Vicki Harwell serves on the Pulaski City Council. She says Shelbyville and Murfreesboro should not give protesters what they want.
Those groups, I feel, want publicity, exposure, validation, and the way that Pulaski has chosen to deal with their visits has not given them any of those things that they covet, in my opinion.
The people of Pulaski can't rewrite its history, but they can move on, knowing a painful past doesn't define this community. Nick Caloway, News 2.
Nick, thanks very much for your time. You must be a very busy man. When the police say that he was known to them, he's pretty well known around there as well, isn't he?
He does have a criminal history here in the state of Tennessee. And actually, we just learned a little while ago that he actually even worked for one of the local school districts not too long ago. I'm told that he no longer worked there, though.
And as far as you can tell, what is all this about?
Well, we don't know. Neighbors here are pretty much just shocked. They say he was a nice guy, quiet, used to walk his dog along this block. They'd say hi. He would say hi back. They would talk. Apparently, he talked a lot about religion. He was a very spiritual man. But everybody here is just pretty much shocked.
And he's trying to set up a church, we understand. There's kind of a church website.
Yeah, so on his church's website, he's raising money to start a church. The address for that church is actually this location where we're standing right now, which is just the home where he lives with his daughter and his daughter's family. So apparently neighbors just say there's no actual church, but he may have been attempting to start one at some point.
And in the time you've been round about there, you've seen some activity, I think.
Yeah, well, we've been here since around 4 o'clock local time here in Central Time, and mostly just one guy came and went. We're told that he was a relative of Mr. Dawson. He came. He didn't have much to say to the media that was parked out on the street in front of the house, but he was seen packing some bags, putting those bags into the trunk of his car, and then he left. And we haven't seen any activity in the last couple of hours, so we're guessing they are leaving, possibly even going up to Washington to be with Mr. Dawson.
Nick, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you, Mike.
A mess, a hot mess that needs to be torn down.
Andrea Brown has lived on Katy Avenue more than 50 years, right across the street from a nursing home.
It's an eyesore, really, for one thing. I think it's bringing the neighborhood, the value of the property down also.
The old River Park Healthcare Center closed about 15 years ago. It's been slowly decaying ever since.
It's a danger zone, haven for criminals and anything going on in there.
In 2013, Metro Nashville acquired the property over back taxes. Still, it got worse, and neighbors say it's dangerous for kids. Even though this property is city-owned, there are no signs that say things like keep out or no trespassing. In fact, as you can see, you can walk right onto the property and even go inside if you want to. This is the second floor, and the doors are unlocked. Once you get inside, let me turn the camera around. This is an old elevator shaft. And down this way, a hallway. On each side, what used to be patients' rooms. When we reached out to Metro Codes, employees told News 2 an inspector will go check on the property to decide what to do.
I would tear it down, really.
Neighbors say the decision should be a no-brainer. Nick Caloway, News 2 at 10. For just 2.5 years old, William Hurd impacted a lot of lives. The Brentwood boy loved his sister, his parents, and his cowboy boots.
2.5 years he
had the best life. He knew he was loved by everyone around him. He knew God made him.
William's life was cut short in December. While being watched by a nanny, he choked on his food and never regained consciousness.
She handled everything as well as she could in that moment.
Jamie and Daniel Hurd have been through something no parents should ever have to. But in their darkest time, they made the selfless choice to donate William's organs.
There was nothing in us that hesitated because we thought, okay, here is something that, you know, out of our tragedy, something good can come out of this.
More than 400 miles away in Chicago, little Ava Martin was fighting for her life. On August 18th, Ava was diagnosed with heart failure.
They started the process of putting her on the transplant waiting list.
Ava was waiting 4 months before the good news came that a heart was available. The transplant was a success, and she's been released from the hospital. And yes, that little heart that's keeping Ava alive once belonged to William. We talked with Ava's parents via FaceTime from Chicago.
This is something that all the money in the world can't buy us, and we are so thankful for what they've given us today.
Thanks to social media, the Martins and the Hurds are connected. Jamie and Daniel Hurd are grateful that even in a time of tragedy, William was able to save a life.
It was such a bright light in the midst of our darkest time.
And now his legacy will live on. Nick Caloway, News 2. Every so often in the South, something funny happens. A couple inches of snow and ice cripple a city, giving its younger residents something magical. And the hills of Sevier Park made the perfect playground.
It's a wonderful day for sledding.
David Allen brought his kids and their friends out for some sledding and reminiscing.
I always looked forward to it when I was a little kid, and I'm glad they're getting to do it.
Not everyone owns a sled, so some have to get creative. In an effort to prove that people can and will use just about anything for a sled, this is a laundry basket, and it seems to be one of the more popular choices here today. Others used political signs, trash can lids, even skateboards. But a busy day of sledding has also turned into a busy day for emergency rooms.
Anything to help protect the noggin.
Dr. Jay Wellens is the chief of pediatric neurosurgery at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. Since Monday, 28 kids have been taken to the children's ER with everything from broken bones to head trauma.
Enjoy the snow, love the snow, it's great. My kids are out there in it now, but we're just not in the street.
Ambulance has been here twice. That's a sign of people having a lot of good times.
Good times that can be painful, even for those of us just holding the camera. Nick Caloway, News 2 at 10.